series on marketing and design, and we will let you take it over.
All right. So I think most people might know me, but if you don't, I'm Grant Gaither. I'm the owner and lead creative at Owen Graffix Creative Group. I'm just going to jump into, I think everybody's just kind of really trying to figure out what to do now, because typical marketing strategies are a little bit different now than they have been in the past. So let's jump in. Go first thing. So I'm sure you guys are aware, social media is going to be the predominant platform right now. So we kind of want to hit on that. And just give you an idea, the social media is a collection of online platforms. It's where everybody can come together, and it is literally the largest communication network in existence. So if you're not leveraging it, then we want to make sure that you are leveraging it and what some ways to kind of go about that. It's the most powerful tool. And the biggest thing about it is it can be pretty much free or very low cost in many applications. And there's multiple different ones to go off of that we'll discuss as well. So why do you want to start online? And I think this is the biggest question that most people have is, I've been dedicated and I got word of mouth is really big, but why do I need to be on social media, or why do I need to be putting so much effort into this? And in this kind of situation that we're in right now, it just backs that we should have been doing this all along. And this is kind of a big stat that 97% of people read reviews on businesses. People actually care about what other people say, and with a large platform like social media sites, that's a great way to get existing customers to leave reviews and have people see that. And 90% of people recall a positive review is what actually influenced their purchase or their decision to use one person over another. And it's become pretty much a standard. I don't know of anybody that doesn't at least look at some form of information online before making a decision on something, whether it's through a social media site or whether it's through a website. So we really want to make sure that you guys can leverage that to get the most out of it. So what is the biggest thing right now? And I try to equate this in how we operate as an agency, and we are brand focused, we're brand centric. And what that means is we look at the overall picture. And so for you guys, when you're starting to create your content or you're starting to really dig into things, you have to think about the whole picture. And when you're thinking about the whole picture, it's really about how to use what you have and get it working together and being cohesive. A great example of this is you will never see a Walmart ad with a person wearing a red polo shirt. It's just not going to be happening because it's going to give you confusion across that brand. So you want to make sure that you have consistency across your entire message, that no matter what, when somebody sees something, they automatically know it's from your business or your company. And it can be as simple as a visual element that's always visible, or a color, or some kind of way that you put an effect on your images, or something that is very centric to what you do. And that's something that you would put across all of your online marketing. Another great example of this is H&R Block's the green. Like, you'll see green and white is their heavy marketing tools for their brand. And that's something that when you see that, you automatically know this is H&R Block. It's not any of the other competitors. And so part of really getting your content there is to fill in all of your info. And this is something we try to look at when you're talking about your brand as a collective. You want to make sure that you have your profiles are up to date and that they are consistent currently. I think one of the biggest ones right now that everybody should really be focused on is your hours of operation. If you've changed your hours, make sure that you post that on social media. Put it in your hours on your Google business listings, on the Bing listings, the Yelp, everywhere that you can, to try to make sure that customers know that your hours are different, so that they don't have to spend the time questioning it. And you can do that through like special holiday hours and just put, you know, for these months, we're going to be open at this time. So one of the next things is finding your voice. And this kind of comes down to that consistent brand imagery. So brand imagery is the visuals. However, every brand has a voice, and we want to make sure that you guys can find your particular voice and know what to say, when to say it, how to say it, and portray that voice over all of the media. Because and it really kind of comes down to your individual industry and who your target is. If you're targeting teenagers, you need your voice to be more in line with what they are used to encountering in their day-to-day lives with their friends and so on. So you'd be more apt to use things like LOL or JK or any kind of like the acronyms and things like that, where formal writing kind of goes out the window. Then you've also got some different voices for like more serious or sarcasm or witty or what have you. And those can really be the brand's visual through text. A great example of this is Twitter doesn't really give you an image to see so much. However, you can give an image of what your brand represents just based on what words you use, how you put your sentences together, and how you present it. And this really how the customers are going to see you and how they're going to interact with you, to keep them kind of really forming more of a relationship bond to you versus just a fly-by-night type thing. So where to start? This is where we really wanted the beef of this to be, is because I think that everybody can look at this and then go, oh my gosh, I've got to manage 10 social media platforms. How in the world am I going to find time to do that, plus do my typical business stuff? Well, you don't really have to do that. You can really focus in on what your target is and where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. So obviously everyone needs to be on Facebook because it is literally the largest one. It's the world's largest social platform, and currently 75% of the US between 18 and 49 use it. So there is the 50 plus age group is a fairly small percentage at this point in time, but it's one of the fastest growing segments for age group for Facebook platform, because as everybody gets older, they age into these brackets. And a few years back, it would have started even lower than 18. It probably would have started from 16 to such and such. But as youth start to not use it, it becomes more of a, I hate to say this, but it's an older generation platform that's still consistently used by most people. Breaking into that is Instagram is a very active follower. Instagram has pretty good user base. And with that user base, 90% at least follow one business, and many follow multiple businesses. So this is a great one to show off what products you have. If you are somebody that does printing or anything like that, you can post pictures of your shirts, you can show the processes, you can take photos of whatever you have on special for restaurants or establishments. It's a great visual tool to really push out content to show people what's happening and keep it kind of relevant. I'm going to run through just a couple of these just to kind of highlight a few points, but then I'll move on. And I'm actually going to take this deck and send it out to everybody so they'll have these things as well, along with some other things at the end. TikTok is probably one of the fastest growing platforms there is, and I know you might have heard of it, but it's a very young platform. So if you're dealing with anything that's above teenagers, you don't need to mess with it. However, if you're dealing with teenagers, you might want to dig into it. Twitter is probably not for this region. LinkedIn, if you are a B2B professional, LinkedIn is an absolute must, just because of the active users and the type of users it gets. We're going to move on from that one. So the reason I was given that is because you really need to know your target audience. So if you're wanting to market, you've got to know who you're marketing first, right? So when you start to look at your target, you really kind of have to look back and say, well, who was you actually having as a typical client before these times, so that way you can actually put your budget towards getting those customers. So like I said, you know, Facebook's going to be a wider reach, but you also got to think, do I need to invest the time in Facebook and Instagram, or should I do Facebook and go for a younger demographic and say I want to do Instagram and Snapchat as far as my ad platforms and my communications? Because all of these platforms allow people to message each other and to communicate and to really kind of have some conversation with your customers. And we really need to be able to do that effectively with your brand, the way your brand's going to speak and the personality of your company, so that way you are being consistent. And part of getting reach out there is, in many of these platforms, they offer advertising options. Facebook is an easy one because it has an actual ad platform on the back end, and it also allows you to do boosted post, which is where you can just literally click on a post and say, I want to boost this. I don't recommend that method. I would go through their business portal, their ads portal, and then select and say, hey, I want to boost this post from that point after you've chosen all of your targeting. So knowing whether or not your customer is 20 to 30 or 30 to 40, if they're upper middle class or if they're lower class as far as income levels, or if they're higher income levels, or if they enjoy vacationing, or if they've been somewhere outside of the state over so much time, or if they just recently moved. These are all key factors that are used to advertise as far as finding that target. And really knowing your strategy of what's going to work and how it is as compiled together, because you can have a strategy and know where your strategy lies. And in many cases with like social media, it's not always about, hey, buy this, hey, buy this, hey, buy this. It's really about building those connections and those relationships. Now, you can run simultaneous things. You can be running advertisements that are saying, hey, this is a new service, let's buy this. But in the same time, you're going to be communicating with your customers and your followers on your page to build up a rapport, because not everybody is in the stance of ready to purchase. But when they do get to the stance of I'm ready to purchase, you really want your brand to be the one they think of versus all of your competitors. And it's really about staying relevant and active in the community, because if you're active and talking with them and communicating and posting content and really investing in them, they're going to be more willing to invest in you and what you're doing, because let's face it, business is really about relationships with each other. So your demographics, Instagram is one of the bigger ones, and I'm going to say that the younger users are typically on this. However, your younger users are the ones that are more apt to purchase just off of the whim than your older seasoned adults. But yeah, this is kind of some stats there. You got 90% of the users follow at least one business. 83% of the users use it to discover new products. So this is what I was talking about, is the younger demographics here are the ones that are going to be active to find something new and purchase it. These are the ones that are looking for something fresh and hip and creative and completely new to them, because they like to be the ones that are finding things. It's that exploration. One reason I highlighted Instagram is hashtags. There are so many cases of people using hashtags completely wrong or ineffectively. So hashtags can be a great tool to use when you are promoting products or services if you do it properly. So a little stat there is hashtags get 100% more engagement with posts. The reason that is for example, if you are like us and you're doing designs and you post in there as graphic design, then if you're using the hashtag graphic design, other people are searching that hashtag. So it's about that community of other designers sharing each other's work and sharing each other's interest. So when you start using hashtags, think of relevant hashtags that are somewhat common so that people can see it. If you're selling a t-shirt, then you want to hashtag awesome graphic tee or graphic tee. So that way people that are searching those tags can find that content, because let's face it, this is a global economy. And if you're selling a product and you can ship it anywhere, it doesn't matter who finds it. Let's just give them the tools to find it properly. And don't be afraid to use multiple hashtags. So that's kind of the other thing, is like, don't be scared to use 20 hashtags if it makes sense. However, don't use hashtags that nobody's using unless you're doing it for a marketing blitz and you have quite a bit of reach. Nobody's searching SVL local design agency. If I use that hashtag, it's going to net me nothing, because there's nobody literally searching that. Facebook is the beast in itself. Facebook has kind of transcended all the other social media just in its broad reach and its scale. I mean, it pretty much encompasses most adults. 70% of US use it. It's multicultural, so it's such a wide platform that if you are not on Facebook, then you really need to be on Facebook. And if you got questions about how to set that up, or any specific questions on profiles, or any kind of detailed comments, just let me know and I'll be glad to help you get you set up on that so that you're off and running and able to actually use it. Facebook is got one of the most robust ad systems out there. It actually contends with Google Ads, which is search ads. It is one of the biggest contenders for that. As an agency, we offer promotions of Facebook ads and Google ads, but Facebook is really hefty in how they do it and they target it. For a consumer, it sucks because everybody's tracking you. Like, Facebook has massive tracking things out there, but as a advertiser, it's glorious because you can target down your customer very specific. And then their platform is really built to do that. And it's constantly changing. So I have no tutorials on how to do this because it can change from one week to the other, and we never know when it's going to change. All right, so moving on. Interaction. So this comes down to just common sense, or at least I feel is common sense. When you're interacting with people on social media, you want to be positive. It doesn't matter what's happening around you. You want to try to stay positive. Nobody wants to hear the sad stories on social media. The news is out there. They'll do that for you. So what are some purposes? So when you start advertising or you start getting into social media and you're talking with possible customers or people that's in the community, what are some of the things that you can do to kind of leverage those conversations to something that makes sense as a business? Because being honest, business is about bringing in money and making revenue so that you can be open the next day. So what are some things that you can do? Well, part of that is using polls or questions, because as you ask polls and questions, and depending on how you do that, you can get information about your customers by these polls. You can find out information that may not be tracked in other ways, but you can do it yourself to find out information. So you can poll somebody of like, hey, which of these plates do you like better? And you can have a red plate, a green plate, and a blue plate. And you can find out the majority of your customers like blue plates. So when you open up your doors again at your restaurant, you can have blue plates instead of green plates. So allowing customers to have some kind of input into that business is going to help to get those customers feeling more empowered and welcomed at your place. But it also gives information of what you can change or what you can do to really kind of boost up what your customers expect or what they feel. You can use it as a great platform for posting out changes that you have, especially now that everybody is pretty much staying at home unless you're an essential person or you don't listen, what's changed in your business? Like, what are some things that you've changed? Have you added a new service? Have you changed any of your menus? Any of that kind of information? You could push that out there and get real-time feedback of of what's happening there. And then you can also kind of dive into some conversations with people as they start to comment on things or start to ask questions. A fun one is right now we are in a point of there's so much negativity. There's a lot of games and challenges happening, and engage in those games and challenges. Build an emotional bond with your customers. Because like I said, most customers are building a relationship with an individual in your establishment or with you as the owner. And that's what's going to drive that customer and relationship as you open up your doors and we get out of this and people can come out of their houses. Where's the first place they're going to go? So where's the first restaurant they're going to go to that's going to sit down? Where's the first store they're going to visit? So when you start thinking about those things, it's really about that bond and saying, hey, this person here was awesome. I want to see them and shake their hand, you know, that kind of thing. You can also bring some behind the scenes information. I know that I've adopted this early on, but honesty is going to be the best thing. So if we can show people real stuff, we want to definitely do that. So we want to be as real as possible and show them that you are real, that you are people that are working behind the brand to really promote things. So as a collective, outside of social media, this is the time that you have to really ask those hard questions, not just in, hey, what's the numbers to keep the doors open for next week, next month, or 2 months down the road, but what is your brand lacking? If your logo has not been updated in 15 years, it's probably time to do that. It's time to update your brand and what people see so that it can be relevant and fresh and something that's going to be more connectable in this day and age with the fast-paced movement that we have. What are competitors doing? See what they're doing on social platforms. See what they're doing on their websites. Take this time to really research what's around you and see what other people are doing so that you can make good decisions on where to go. The one that kind of sticks out to me as the most important is streamlining your process. Now we have the time and the tools and everything to kind of streamline that processes that we have to make sure that we're being efficient in what we're doing. And that kind of backs up the little graph here, or the picture, is if you've always done it that way, it's probably wrong. So we don't ever want to continue to do something just because it's what we've always done. We want to make sure that when we're doing it, it's the best possible way, not just always what we've done. So I've got this slide here, again, looking at the time. I want to make sure I'm not running over, but I want to make sure that you guys have the resources, and I've created some things here. I will get these links sent out through Val in a nice little effective package. Just to give you some resources like stock sites, photo editors that are free online. These are all free stock sites that you can visit. And then we've created a planner Excel document that'll help with social posting. So that way you can plan out your post and have that ready to go. And all you got to do is really just input that content and get that thing entered in and go. And then I've got all of the stats that you've seen here, plus many, many more, dealing with each of the platforms as follows. And then you got some general demographics there, just to kind of give you a lot more information if you got specific questions about viewerships and whatnot. So all that being said, we have a few minutes here, and I really kind of want to open it up to questions if that's something that we can do, Val.
Sure it is. Sure it is. Everybody's unmuted now. So does anybody have any questions for Grant?
I posted a question, Grant, on Instagram on the hashtagging. You know, when you're hashtagging, especially on Instagram, it highlights other people that have hashtagged that. Should you always click that so that you're in that group? You know what I'm talking about? It'll bring up a whole list of those hashtags and how many people have used it. Do you click that to make the hashtag more visible, or does it matter?
It's just showing you who else is used that hashtag. So it's just a kind of a notifier.
So you don't need to click it to make anything, to do anything.
No, it just shows. So like in Instagram, it's just giving you that information.
Okay.
So when you're looking on Instagram, and it's different for desktop than it is with mobile, of how you actually can search those hashtags and stuff. But I want to go back to that. Instagram is common practice is either you like enter like way down the list and then add your hashtags, or you comment with your hashtags. And part of that reason is how it displays that content in snippets, just for general knowledge.
Anyone else have a question? How about you, Zelda?
No, I'm good.
I have a question, Grant. So when you were talking about earlier, I can't remember if it was Facebook or if it was Instagram, but you were talking about ways to be sure that people know it's you when you're posting or sending stuff out, whether it's something as simple as always having your brand or your logo there.
Mm-hmm.
But you also said don't continue to stay the same and stay stagnant. So how often is it recommended to actually change or alter your logo to stay fresh?
It depends. It depends on the logo itself and your brand itself. So as you can tell here, you guys are getting the first look at our new branding. So we had the old one for probably 4 or 5 years. Partly we didn't mess with it because it was just a back burner thing of we just didn't have time.
Right.
However, it really is about just making sure that you're fresh and current. And sometimes it depends on the logo itself. If the logo is nice and clean, it should be able to get you a longer lifespan than an older one. And sometimes it's not always a matter of like, oh, I got to redo everything. It's a matter of, well, I just need to freshen it up. If your brand was created and you're using black and white consistently through everything, well, maybe it's time, instead of just doing black and white, do black and white and a color, or changing it to be a vibrant color. Or if you have, if you'll notice Facebook, when they redid theirs, if you see the icon right there, when they updated their logo, they changed the typeface just slightly, and then they brightened up the blue for their actual brand. So it's minor change, but it just keep it a little bit more fresh.
How about you, Francis?
Actually, I'm just listening to the information, because we are definitely targeting the social media aspect of what we're trying to do. And one of the things that we're working on from the central line and from the board perspective is the virtual marketplace for job fairs. And so just to get an update, because I'm old school, so just getting an update on all the different social media tools that are out there has been quite informative for me.
We have a couple other people on the call, and I don't know who you are. So if you're on the phone, could you just introduce yourself? All right, phone people. Donald?
Yep. David?
All right. Okay. Well, if we don't have any other questions.
I think I do.
All right.
I have one more question. So Grant, I'm not a big Instagram user, but I do have an account. Earlier you said that one of the reasons that people really use it is to find new businesses.
Well, not necessarily new businesses, but new stuff, like new content. Like it's about finding something that's inspirational, or if I'm looking at the easy ones is like t-shirts or something. If I'm searching for a t-shirt, I may look at some t-shirt design stuff like that through Instagram. It's about finding new content or new products. That's kind of, it's like the innovative platform. So if you're looking at finding something that's new and fresh, that's a good platform to kind of use.
Gotcha. And to me, that kind of Pinterest kind of does that same thing.
Yeah, Pinterest is it's more of like a collection. So a lot of people use it to form their little collections of, these are things that inspire me. I know the stats, and I think it was like 73% is female based.
Yes.
Well, mostly because a lot of that collection gathering is for things like design. So like furniture, design, clothing, makeup, matching. It's things that people are like collecting as to groups. Artists use it a lot to collect like inspirational boards. So if you are working on something in your company and you want to kind of keep some things kind of together, it's kind of like a folder structure that you can share with other people. Like, hey, this is kind of the idea we have going. Like, I'm remodeling, I'm looking at these colors and for the office, or we're looking at updating our establishment, and these are the palettes we're doing. What do y'all think? And you can get feedback and stuff like that. And you can see what the new trends are as well.
Okay, great. How are we doing on time? We are right there at it. Well, if there are no more questions, again, thanks everybody for signing up for these virtual meetings. And our next meeting is next week, and it will be hosted by Carson Wealth, Ted DeLisi, and he is going to do a discussion on the three bucket approach to financial planning. So hopefully you can come back and join us then. And Grant, again, thank you so much. Great information, great presentation. I look forward to you sending that to me so I can be sure and get it to everybody that attended today.
Yep. And if anybody has any questions down the road, y'all can always feel free to email me or message through any of the platforms or anything like that, and we'll get back with you.
All right. Okay.
We'll get the info out soon. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Francis. Take care.